Afternoon. Call to order the regular GC board meeting. 6/20/23 at 4:45 p.m. Roll call, Mr. Mark Anderson.
Here.
Mr. Harry Block,
Here.
Mr. Bruce Mandrick,
Here.
Mr. Jack Turner,
Present.
and Willie Campbell present. Thank you, board members. I need to do just a little bit of business right quick. I'm going to pull agenda item number 2 under personnel, superintendent's contract pending the outcome of negotiations around timelines with the current superintendent. That would be the first item. And the second item, I am going to be moving the closed session. We have it item 7, and I want to take it all the way down to the last part of the board meeting, just before our board comments under personnel. So we will go into closed session down at the end, so that all of the speakers and everyone will have a chance to speak, and then we will have a chance to spend some time with closed session.
Which item are you pulling?
Item number 2 under personnel. Go to personnel at the bottom. Under personnel, and that's item number 13, the employment agreement contract. See where I am, item 13, personnel.
Okay. Oh, I have. So you're pulling the superintendent employment agreement?
Yes, yes, we will be discussing that
Can
in
we,
closed session.
can we delay on pulling that until after the closed session?
Well, okay, I think we can. Think we can. Okay, so we will discuss that in closed session. All right. So now with that, do we have public comments?
We have no public comments.
All right, well, now I want to say hi to everyone and thank you so much for being here. It's good to see you, good to see your faces. Now that it's supposed to be summer vacation, and here we all are together again. Thank you, board members. Thank you, administrators and guests, and those who are watching us virtually. We appreciate your being with us, so thank you very, very much. And now, board, guess what? Guess what time it is? It's annual organization time again. I thought we just did this a couple of months ago, and here it is again. So what does that mean? We move to approve the following organization items. Number 1, appointment of board officers for 23 and 24, and approval of the GCC board meeting dates, 2023, 2024. So that's what we're discussing now. Yes, let's do that.
I'd like to note that it's really very good for organizations and boards to change their roles occasionally. And I'd like to nominate Harry for my secretary position.
I think Harry looked at you
I
like,
talked to him.
I did not.
I told him that an increase in salary came with it.
Oh, that's a big joke, you guys. Harry?
If we wish to do, you know, that's my, I ain't gonna say the word I was saying, but that's my buddy. So.
That's your buddy.
So whatever we want.
Is your motion to keep other positions?
No, that might, because the other positions are also for other people to consider. But I nominate Harry for the secretary position.
All right, okay, I think it's appropriate to take that as a motion now.
Yeah,
Yes,
For the secretary of the GCC board.
okay, do I have a second?
A second.
You will second.
Sure.
All right, all in favor, roll call, Mark Anderson,
Yes.
Harry Block,
Yeah.
Bruce Mandrick,
Yes.
Jack Turner,
Yes.
Zoe Campbell, if that's what he wants, yes. So we now have a new secretary, Mr. Harry Block. All right, now yes,
I would like to nominate Ms. Lily Campbell as the president for the upcoming year.
Is there, do we have other nominations for the president?
He can't. He's already.
No, he's already, can be. Turner, other nominations for president?
No, I strongly support your presidency.
All right, I guess that's an item. Again, we need to take have a vote on that. Do you put it in the phone?
I'll second the motion.
Need a motion.
We need a motion. I think we have. Oh, you moved. Okay, all right. Roll call, Mark Anderson,
Yes.
Harry Block,
Yes.
Bruce Mandrick,
Yes.
Jack Turner,
Yes.
Louis Campbell. Well, yes, I have to say. Yes, I will accept, again. For another year. All right, and we have also the vice president.
I'll reelect Bruce.
You really like Bruce,
Yeah.
you moving that Bruce becomes continue as vice
Mhm.
president.
Second.
And you second, okay, it's been moved in second. Again, Mark Anderson, Harry Block,
Yes.
Bruce Mandrick,
Yes.
Jack Turner,
Yes.
Lily Campbell. Oh, yes, okay. I think, so we got our secretary,
We got
oh,
treasurer.
treasurer, that's it, treasurer.
I'll nominate Mark as treasurer.
Then you second, we have a
Oh,
second,
yes.
yes, we have a second. All in favor, okay, Mark Anderson,
Yes.
Harry Block,
Yes.
Bruce Mandrick,
Yes.
Jack Turner,
Yes.
Lily Campbell, yes. So our officers are in place. And again, just for, make sure we understand, Lily Campbell, president, Bruce Mandrick, vice president, Harry Block, secretary, and Mr. Mark Anderson, treasurer. So those are the officers for the next year.
I think
Did I miss anyone?
appointment for. Yes.
Oh, we have some appointments. Now, I don't have my appointments. Would you help me out with those?
Yes, this would be the board's appointment to the Community Business Advisory Council, also known as CBAC. Currently, Mr. Block serves that role, and then also the board's appointment to the GCC Foundation Board.
GCC
And
Foundation.
currently, Mr. Anderson, as your treasurer, serves in it.
Do we have anyone who would like to take those, or we can just unanimously approve these people to stay in these positions?
That would be my motion.
That would be your motion. Great. Mine too. So the motion is that second, great. So those appointees are in place and they remain in place. Okay, just to make sure it's official, Mark Anderson,
Yes.
Harry Block,
Yes.
Bruce Mandrick,
Yes.
Jack Turner,
Yes.
Lily Campbell, yes. Okay, so those positions are in place as they were. Did we miss anything now?
That's it.
That's it? How about that? We did it. Okay, approval of the GCC board meeting dates. Now you received those in your agenda. Did you have a chance to look at them? Any concerns at this time? No, hearing none. I might have one in September, but I'll look at that. But that's the only one so far that I looked at that might be a conflict for me. So, but we'll make sure that the vice president is on board. Okay, I will entertain a motion to approve the GCC board meeting dates for 2023 to 2024.
I move approval.
Move approval, thank you. And second, Mr. Block. All right, roll call, Mark Anderson,
Yes.
Harry Block,
Yes.
Bruce Mandrick,
Yes.
Jack Turner,
Yes.
Lily Campbell, yes. So the board meeting dates for 2023, 2024 have been unanimously approved. Thank you. All right. I think that takes care of the annual organization items. And so with that, again, we will move into the superintendent's update. Yes, sir, that's you.
Thank you, Madam President. First of all, let me welcome everyone to tonight's board meeting. I'd like to take this opportunity to congratulate our board officers, and I look forward to working with each of you over the course of the next year. So congratulations, and looking forward to all the work that's ahead. Mr. Block, there's a lot of work that comes your way in this new role, so we'll look forward to that. Also, I'd like to just take this opportunity to wish everyone a happy belated Father's Day that we all celebrated on Sunday. So happy Father's Day to our board and those in the audience. Yesterday, we celebrated Juneteenth, which commemorates the emancipation of enslaved African Americans in the United States, and our offices were closed for that day. Just a little bit of student and school highlights. I am not going to spend a lot of time talking about this because I have a sense that one of the schools that's going to present tonight will, but Sava students and our partners were showcased the beginning stages of the EV Lowrider project at the 36th Annual Electric Vehicle Symposium and Exposition. I'm going to stop there because I get the sense, I could be wrong, that you're going to say more about that.
And I wanted to say something too, because I saw it also. So.
Yeah. So I'll leave that to them. So our GCC administration convened last week for a very productive end of the year retreat, right, admin? Yeah, see, they're all shaking their head, yes. But really it was a time for preparing for the upcoming year, empowering our staff with kind of some, what I call really key information so that we can begin to look at what's needed to work for our students, Our cabinet team, we met with Lau Pertman and Wendy York recently to discuss the alignment of our work and supports for next school year, including the continued use of our various assessments and our leadership growth, as well as ways that we can continue to integrate and build the shared depth of understanding within our learning cycles. And later on in the study session, Director Chakoy will give you some more information about the work that we're doing with our professional learning consultants. CCSA Member Council, I recently attend, this is the California Charter Schools Association. This meeting with other charter school leaders really throughout the state to discuss the legislative ramifications of the passage of the governor's budget and the potential things that we're looking to come out in the trailer bill. Last week, I was honored to host a group of parents for dinner with the superintendent. It was really a wonderful opportunity. We called it dinner with the superintendent, but really it was a parent focus group to really have the opportunity to discuss the needs of our students and families and how we can best partner to ensure that all of our students are successful. I will tell you, I personally have enjoyed the student group, the alumni group, the business, financial, as well as our parent group, and hearing their feedback. So really excited for what will be next. This week and the last few weeks, continue to work through our evaluations for all of our administrators, directors, as well as cabinet. I'm personally enjoying the time of reflection and discussion with each individual as we look ahead. And then this week, our executive cabinet will be meeting for a day retreat. These are all of our central office directors as we plan for next school year and continue to build our team. A few upcoming events that I have this week, I'll attend the FIGMAT board meeting. I have the WAS commission meeting that's coming up next week for our summer meeting, and then the urban superintendents collaborative through the AASA organization. And then finally, I want to let everyone know that the GCC welcome back event. Yes, I'm actually talking about that. It will be August the 8th at 8:30 a.m. and we'll be gathered at the Citrus Heights Community Center. So it's hard to believe that we're already saying welcome back before we said goodbye.
Oh, even say goodbye.
And then the final piece, just to let the board know, we are getting to that space in our calendar where a number of our staff will be going off calendar for their summer breaks. And so we'll be working with you in terms of any needs that you have during that time of how to stay in contact. So with that being said, that is my report tonight. Kept it brief because we have a hefty
meeting. Yeah. Thank you. Any comments? Any questions, comments? Thank you. Thank you so much for that time and report. All right. And so with that, we are now ready to move into our study session portion of the board. And we have first Sacramento Academic and Vocational Academy, SAVA, annual school report. And it was so great to see you last night on TV. You did a great job with the report. Yes.
All right.
So,
Okay.
yes, I will. So, yeah, certainly last, but definitely not least, our Saba team is the final group for our school report. And again, very proud of the work that both Ashley and Summer have done in their
There's
leadership.
gotta be a lot.
Their leadership at Saba. So with that being said, welcome Saba.
Welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much. Sacramento Academic Vocational Academy is super excited to be here tonight with you presenting at our board. Hope you enjoy your wonderful gift to launch you into summer. I want to thank Jason Sample, incoming superintendent, board president Lily Campbell, the rest of our board members and our cabinet members for having us here tonight and to be able to showcase our school and what we've been doing for this whole year of 22-23 school year. I do want to do some additional introductions. I'm Summer Ash, Vocational Academy's principal. Ashley Madden, Vocational Academy's principal, co-principals. We also have tonight with us Christina Smith, our campus principal from Power In, and Chelsea Stofford, our campus principal, who was this year at our Sim Center location, and is now moving to our Natomas location. And so we'll all be presenting a little bit tonight. As you can see, also we have Leslie Warburton, who is our campus principal at Elk Grove, and our incoming campus principal at Sim Center, Nina Lorenzi. We also had 2 additional positions added this school year to make up our admin team, and that is Rakita Bluford, our CTE program administrator, and Michael Mendoza, our middle school program administrator. So just wanted to put faces with names for all of you. All right, we can't start this without a little bit of good things. So we're gonna start off with what Jason Sample was hinting at. And that was our attendance at Electric Vehicle Symposium 36 with our students and our conversion project of the 64 Impala, converting it into an electric vehicle. Sacramento just happened to be the host this year of this worldwide conference. Next year, it's in South Korea. The following year, it is in Sweden. So we just happened to be the place where it was at this year. And with our partners with SMUD and the Lowrider Commission, we were able to bring our car to this symposium. And literally you walk up and there's all these electric vehicles that you can drive. And then there's our stand, and that was it. So everyone who came into the conference got a chance to talk to us. And it was amazing. Our students got to talk to from people from Sweden, Germany, China, from around the world, and got to hear about this conversion. The second really cool thing about this convention is that we had a discussion panel, and our discussion panel presentation had the biggest crowd around it. And the people who listened to us stayed and just asked questions and wanted to know how they could possibly donate money to our project. It was amazing. And then last night, as you said, Ms. Campbell, we were featured on KCRA Channel 3 for this conversion project. So we were just excited that we're bringing real world, real life curriculum to our students that is interesting and impactful to not only our students, but our community. I want to thank Jason Sanford for showing up to the EV36 convention and giving his support, and Maury Elliott for his continuous support in this project. So thank you both. Again, this year Saba launched our Build Your Future 5-year strategic plan to increase our college and career indicator outcomes. This year was really getting staff buy-in, getting staff voice going into next year as year 1 for our 5-year vision. Another good thing, we added manufacturing and public safety to our CTE pathways, which gives us 13 pathways Saba-wide now. And then Saba hosted 15 participants for the charter school conference here in Sacramento. This is the first year that Saba or any GCC school has been asked to host for that conference at our school site. So that was a huge win to be able to highlight our schools and to build those partnerships. And then lastly, I mean, if you see that middle picture, we got to bring back prom, first prom since 2019, and our kids just were so excited to be on the dance floor, engaging with each other and having prom back in action. So really great things happening at Saba. All right, jumping into academic excellence. I just want to highlight here, the bottom chart represents our ADA growth and percentages from last year to this year. And as you can see, we have increased our ADA across the SAVAs. And then if you look at that second table, you can see that our enrollment has continued to grow. So you can see the difference between last year and this year for our CBEDS growth and for how we end the year. Because as you know, we continuously enroll our students all the way through May. So that enrollment growth continues to grow. What we found coming out of COVID is a lot of students and families are looking for alternative settings. And they're finding it with us. We also added middle school to Elk Grove and the Twin Rivers for the first time this school year. So that has also increased our attendance rate. And then if we jump into college and career indicators, as we said, SAVA is ready to bring all of our students, 100% of students in 5 years, to be prepared on the college and career indicator. But right now, where we mostly focus on and what we have is our CTE pathway completers. If you remember us talking to you at one of your previous board retreats, we really had to recover our pathway completers coming out of COVID because they weren't able to do those capstone level courses during COVID. So it took us a while to get that back and to get students moving through the pathway. So last year we had 36 students complete pathway completers. And this school year we almost doubled that with 62. And that's just the beginning because our students are continuing to enroll and build those classes. So as we go into next year, you'll see that number go up to at least 100 going into next school year. And then for our academics, our SAVA iReady results. If you kind of take a look at this, we have all 3 of our SAVAs and we have English and math, diagnostic 1 from the beginning of the school year to diagnostic 3, our end of school year diagnostic, and then the difference for each of those on the side column. And as you can see, we have really increased our scores and our students that are on or above grade level. I do want to highlight that our focus this year was math and how do we build our students in those mathematical practices and interventions. And as you can see, SAVA overall has more than a 16% increase in our math growth on our iReady scores. And I want to thank especially Joy, for supporting us with our iReady growth and implementation for our SAVA schools. All right, I'm going to pass this over now to Chelsea Stofford for instruction. The left, the right arrow.
Thank you. Good evening, afternoon. I get the privilege to talk about instruction and teacher staff support, student engagement, and special populations at SAVA. I think as I was going through this and what I wanted to present to the members of GCC here tonight in our board is that we truly do something inspirational and transformational within our schools. And prior to coming to SAVA and being a part of GCC, I was predominantly in the comprehensive world and always felt so boxed in these type of meetings and presentations. But it's so relieving and refreshing to get to do what we do day in and day out and be so passionate for our kids. And when we talk about instruction and teacher and staff support, it's because we get to meet our kids where they are. We don't have kids come into our program and say, you have to fit this mold, you have to hit these test scores, you are a test score, you're a number. It's no, we get to holistically look at our children and say, what can we do for you to create a relevant and meaningful experience, to create lowrider opportunities, to be part of a CTE program, to be part of something that is much bigger than just a number or a test score. So I just wanted to thank all of you for giving me that opportunity as a leader and changing my view in what I believe in education and what we do for our kids and our families day in and day out. To highlight some of the things that we've done in terms of teacher and staff support for our kids to create that relevant and meaningful experiences. This year in our middle school, we launched our project-based learning. Our middle school staff, support staff, attended professional development last year, and they are doing so again this summer. So our 7th and 8th grade students are actually producing real world relevant projects rather than their traditional brick or mortar experience. This vertically aligns beautifully into our 9th through 12th grade CTE programs. This year, our CTE teachers worked on scope and sequence workshops throughout the year in the PLC model led by our coaches. Thank you, Heather, for supporting our wonderful coaches as well in that work. and where we are working to align and articulate all of our CTE coursework to be industry specific. So when kids are leaving Saba, they will have what is needed within their industry and the most relevant skill set so they can enter into the workforce and be confident and successful. Saba-wide, we emphasized PLCs this year. This was the first year that every single staff member at Saba participated in a PLC, and that was across all of the Saba campuses. Some were content specific, some were support role specific, with an emphasis on equity. We really wanted to lay the foundation for what are we doing for equitable practices across all of our Saba campuses. And one phrase I heard from one of our staff members is it shouldn't be luck of the draw. When a student enters every single one of our campuses, they are given every opportunity and the best experience that they can to achieve any goal that they have for themselves. Next thing to highlight is our student engagement. And when we highlight student engagement, we really want to talk about student agency. How did we build our students up to take ownership of their educational experience, especially in the IS model? In our middle school, we implemented a middle school counselor, and Gloria's in here tonight. She's at the district office this summer, who is fantastic. She had students take a U Science aptitude test, and where now students are working through that project-based learning model, they're also exploring their careers. What passions are they interested in? Again, vertically aligning into the CTE programs when they enter into our high school programs. Within CTE, the CCSA was led by our CTE student ambassadors. So students were articulating and highlighting the CTE programs they were involved in, that their friends were involved in, and all of the experiences and knowledge that they gained from each one of our CTE programs to a bunch of adults that they weren't overly familiar with, and they were very confident and graceful in doing so. And I wanted to thank specifically Mark and Maury for attending, or excuse me, and Jason for attending our CTE showcase. Again, another incredible opportunity each year for our kids to showcase all of their skills and all of their hard work throughout the year. Saba-wide, excuse me, we had a recent field trip, again, creating that student agency where our students went out to Point Reyes and they had to turnkey facilitate the whole experience. So it was really cool. I went into our base camp, which is right adjacent to PI, which is our Fit and Rec program, our CTE pathway, and students were measuring out their food, exactly how much they needed to take, what quantities, their camping gear, the permitting process, the whole experience. They had to figure out how to pack in and out of Point Reyes. And the most incredible thing, if you ever have the opportunity, is to listen to these students' reflections after these trips. Things I took for granted as a child camping, our students are saying, I've never camped before. I've never made a s'more. I've never sat by a fire. And those are the things that kindly remind us to be very present in the day and grateful for all that we have. So some wonderful student engagement, and that agency is really what we want to highlight and continue to focus on. Lastly, for our instructional highlights is our special population support, predominantly Saba-wide, that is our special education students and our English language learners. This year with the PBL model, we dedicated an RSP to Elk Grove and our Power In campus. If you see the photo, that is one of our instructors working with our kids in that small group instruction as they rotate through their project-based learning experiences. In CTE, we had over 100 students participate in the job shadow this year with 30 industry partners. This was very unique for our students in whatever journey they are on within our organization, because they came in the morning and some were so inspired that the majority of them stayed to go in the second half in the afternoon, which was really cool to see. And then Saba-wide, we are implementing restorative practices within our interventions and really focusing on building community. So if you were to visit one of our Saba campuses each day, there is an intentional space called community time in which students participate and really create a culture where they feel like they belong. We want to emphasize that students do not fit in. We don't remove students. We do not utilize punitive discipline. Students take agency in who they are as a part of our program and restore any sort of behavior or qualm that they're having within their built-in community at their school site. Thank you for your time tonight and letting me highlight a few of our instructional components. And again, so grateful for all that you do and that you allow us to do for our students and our families. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to my esteemed colleagues, Principal Smith.
Good evening, Superintendent Sample, members of the board, directors. I have the privilege of talking to you about some of GCC's priorities, so diversity, equity, and inclusion. Wanted to talk about our continued journey in and learning and understanding path of diversity, equity, and inclusion, ultimately focusing on the impact of our students. Chelsea mentioned earlier about how our staff were all participants in professional learning communities. Thank you again, Dr. Gold, for leading our coaches who led our specialists to facilitate those meetings. They started off by understanding their own stories and biases in the stories, and then moved on to looking at data and being able to understand where we have gaps in our services for our students. So each of the PLT groups identified a college and career indicator, looked for those gaps in services, and then proposed solutions. And as you see in the photo, our staff got together at the end of the year at our PLC symposium and presented to each other the data that they had found, the research they did, and the solutions that they were proposing to eliminate those gaps. I'm also going to cover parent and community engagement, which is great. Again, the focus is coming back from COVID, really welcoming and inviting our families back onto campus and into their students' learning environment. And so we did a number of things this past year to do that. Our student support team identified especially needs during the winter holiday season and proposed a winter resource fair, which we partnered with community organizations and collected presents so that we had over 200 presents for students who attended the winter resource fair. And then out of that winter resource fair, also continue to grow our community partnerships. For example, with the SAC Youth Center, we then connected with them, and they hosted a class in the spring semester for our students, peer mentoring, which we are going to again post and continue to increase that relationship next school year. Another community partnership that we have grown this past year is with the Department of Rehabilitation, making sure to bridge our students who can use those services with actual services. And we've expanded, including this summer, to do a class during summer school to provide support for students in workplace readiness and life skills. And then we also have looked internally to engage, looking for our students at the high school level to come and tutor our students at the middle school level. So continuing to create those bridges just within our SAVA community to support engagement. We're excited to continue this. We know that now that COVID is fully over, that we can move to continue to bring and welcome our families into those spaces on our campuses. And supporting students with SEL and that social emotional learning is really important in a non-traditional school like SAVA, where we don't necessarily see students every day. So it's really important to make sure that our students feel like students. For example, having sports like our basketball team. Our basketball team was back after COVID and they returned from their hiatus to be in the league tournament at the end. In the semifinal game, they had a winning basket at the buzzer to get them into the finals, and then took that confidence to clinch the league championship. So we're really excited for them to continue to grow, and it's just a great program for our students to participate in. And then also thinking about our students as the whole child, and knowing that we're not always able to provide our mental health supports internally through our staff. And so we've looked to community partnerships to provide that mental health support. We piloted a program through Spark, and they were able to come in and identify areas to provide mental health programming for our students. And we're continuing to expand those community partnerships into next year to make sure that our students, our families, our staff are well and supported in their mental health and wellness. And with that, thank you so much. I'm going to pass it on to Ashley.
Thank you, Principal Smith. Thank you, board members, cabinet, Superintendent Sample. I'm so excited tonight to talk to you about what we're all here for, really is our student impact. So of all the things that we're doing, this is the reason why we come to work every day. So the impact that we've had after hearing all of the things that we have done over the last year, with our college and career indicators and our academic data, we've been able to double the number of CTE completers from last year to this year. We've had the highest number of students completing early college credits this year across all of our SAVA schools. And we've also increased our path rate in integrated math 1 through the focus of our SIP plan with our coherent cycles of inquiry. We've moved that from 70% to 75% past year for all of our SAVA schools. And then in terms of engagement for both students and our community, we've increased academic engagement and on-campus participation through increasing our number of classes and clubs available for students to be on campus to get that direct instruction. And we've increased the number of students graduating and promoting to the point where if you look at this picture on the slide, we had to hold 2 SAVA middle school promotions this year because of the amount of middle school growth that we've had. So I wanted to thank everyone who was there to see that in action. We actually had over 70 students promote this year, which has been a SAVA record. And we also had a record number of students where we brought back the mid-year winter graduation, where we had about 100 students graduate in the winter. And then we had about 300 students graduate with us this spring at Sutter Hill Park. So really seeing that growth produce citizens going into their next step after their high school journey. Another thing I would like to highlight is we have had really positive results from our school culture survey this year, with over 85% of respondents agreeing or strongly disagreeing that SAVA is effectively educating their child as a whole person. So really wanted to celebrate that our stakeholders see the positive impact that we are having on our students. And what's next? So many things. So what we are so excited is as a launching point from our EV lowrider conversion project, we are planning on launching a green energy pathway and potentially multiple pathways because there's so much to do with that, and expand facilities at North Market with our partnerships that started with the EV conversion project. We are also bringing back our medical pathway, which is so exciting because that's been a very high need and high interest pathway for our students. So we were able to hire a teacher going into next fall for that, to bring that back. We continue middle school expansion, particularly in Elk Grove. We have seen a increase in student interest in middle school in that space. So we picked up an extra suite to be able to give them that space to explore the CTE hands-on projects and expand into the PBL model in just like our Power in Campus has. And then we're also exploring growth opportunities for our SIM Center, and we continue to grow our graduation rate, particularly with our 4-year cohort and 1-year graduate. I want to thank Ms. Deutsch-Floyd and Eric Crawford for their support in our work to do a data dive regarding increase. All right, so as we wrap this up, I just want to thank you for your time today and let you know that we as a team are committed to continuous reflection to help make our programs better for our students. And to do that, we need to be vulnerable. So I just want to leave you today with this quote from Brene Brown: that vulnerability is the birthplace of innovation, creativity, and change. Thank you very much. Any questions?
All right, board members, comments, questions? All right. Sorry, Jack, and then Harry. I think I saw his hand. Okay, yeah.
Oh, I saw the television presentation on your electric vehicle. And congratulations on that. It was very, very well done. And it is the sort of exposure, I think, for program that is just impossible to get otherwise, and I expect that you will be hearing from some of the people in the community about the success of that program. I have a question. How many, do you know the number of students that are getting college credit at full enrollment while they're with Sava?
Yeah, so for college credit or dual enrollment numbers, we are at approximately 18 to 20 students Sava-wide that did receive that dual enrollment college credit.
But I really pursue that. That's a nice track for those students to get on a career path, like the local community college.
Yeah, and this is really our first year doing that dual enrollment partnership and really pushing for our counselors to get our students involved in that. So we just we'll continue to see that growth going into next year, definitely.
Because I can see that with the nursing program at community college, the culinary arts programs, the fire protection programs, any of those that you can connect with and get the students on that career path. It's a great opportunity. So thank you.
I want to give a shout out to our CTE teachers who really have been the ones promoting that dual enrollment as well, along with our counselors. We have a couple on staff who actually teach at Los Rios colleges. And they recruit some of our kids to take classes through with them at ARC as well. So that's been a real
But
benefit.
please continue that.
Mhm.
That's
Jack, that's a good question, because I was thinking about the college readiness program too, so thank you. Won't have to ask. Harry,
Okay, I just like, your big championship, I'd like to see him come before us so we can give him a shout out.
We would love to bring them.
Because,
Yes.
I'm one of those nuts about sports, so.
Next year, we'll make it happen. Yes, and Mark.
Student ambassador, so I'm really pleased to see that we are starting at the middle school to kind of keep the interest of students. Are the student ambassadors involved in that at all? Do they speak to the students at middle school? And just curious about their role.
Yeah, they've actually, our CTE teachers have partnered with our middle school to do some like mini job shadows within our own programs, where our middle school students can kind of talk and see what it's like to take a high school pathway right here at Sodom. So they know what they're getting into when they go from 8th grade to 9th grade. So we've started that work. I think we have a ways to grow. But with the SAC Youth Mentorship Program too, we've also had those students going into the middle school to build them up and do some mentoring.
That's fantastic. Continue that, but that's really coming from peers, people that they respect is going to provide a lot of impetus in that. The other thing I wanted to ask you is we always talk about parental engagement. How are you feeling about that? Are you feeling you're getting more? I heard that the survey that you did, amazing, 75%, I think you said. 85%. So are you pleased with the amount of parents getting engaged?
Yes, so to kind of put that in comparison, this is the first year we've had record numbers at our school site council with parents involved, especially in Elk Grove. I want to give a shout out to Leslie. There's been some years we haven't had very many parents involved in our school site council, and this year our school site council was filled with parents and students. We also have had to delineate and kind of focus in on our events for our families, because we had our first event at Power In before our new middle school came to be. And we just focused on our seniors and our 12th graders, and they brought their family, and we couldn't fit all of the people that showed up to campus in our Power In main room. And so we really had to take a step back and be like, okay, well, if we can't fit our seniors, how are we going to even do a school-wide event if we have to be inside? So we're seeing a lot of families wanting to be on campus, wanting to participate and be part of what we do. So yes, we're really seeing that growth.
I think another way we've shifted is we've been able to create events that are specific to certain groups. So in addition to the seniors, we had a middle school and freshman info night to show for our freshmen to say, this is what your high school experience is gonna look like, but also promoting eighth graders, this is what the transition to high school is gonna look like, and we held that together. So we're looking at just maybe focusing a little bit more on events that will support the needs of specific groups as well.
Well, Mark, you took my question. I got how much parent participation. It's right here written down, so both of you have taken that, and it was so good because I really wanted to know. Okay, go.
You mentioned coming out of COVID that you hear from parents looking for alternatives. What are you hearing? How prevalent is that? And how is that affecting your programs?
Yeah, so I think we're hearing from parents and students that during COVID, they realize that there's different ways that you can learn. You don't have to be on campus all the time, that you can, that there are just other options out there, and they're exploring those other options. And when they are looking, they're looking at us because you don't have to be on campus every single day to get your education. We're going to focus in on the areas that you need to be on campus. You might need to take a math class on campus. You need to be in your CTE class and you have to meet with your teacher, but if you can do the rest at home, then great. That works for you, that's an option. So we're really just seeing that shift in families' mindsets of, that traditional classroom may not be for everyone.
Also with that, I think that our population has shifted a little bit more to students who are wanting to have the flexibility to take those early college classes. So the flexibility of our model allows them to take more college classes. I was speaking with a parent at the parent summit, and her daughter, while we didn't offer a medical pathway this year, her daughter was able to have the flexibility in her schedule to take a full pathway in the medical field to become a sonographer. And she completed with her certificate. She was able to graduate and got her certificate at 17 years old. So just those kinds of students who are motivated to really get into an industry, our model allows that flexibility.
Well, I just want to compliment you, all of you, on the work that you're doing, Sava, all of those students in your program is special to me, they just kind of make my heart beat fast. Because I see what you're doing for students, as you said. The example you just gave, there's so many students out there who are finding their way thanks to Sava, thanks to the programs, thanks to the CTE programs that you have. So I really appreciate all of you for the work that you're doing, your perseverance and your stick to it and working with students, giving them the love and affection that they need to continue. Who else is here from Sava? Did we have anyone else?
And
Yeah, the counselor.
there was some great.
Well, thank you so
Look
much.
at that.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Thank you all. Appreciate you.
Thank you for your gift. All right. That was great, and we'd love to see you stay with us, but we know you have other things, so you can leave whenever you feel necessary. So thank you so much. All right, we're moving on to more study session. We have professional learning academic program contract update. Yes. Okay, it's Ms. Joy.
Thank you, Madam President. So our Director of Academics, Ms. Joy Tafoya, is going to come and present. And this really is, if you remember during our board retreat, we shared that as we would bring our professional learning and academic contracts back to the board for annual approval, we would talk about what our plan is, how we plan to utilize the contracts and the work that we are looking to do to continue to support quality instruction in our schools. So with that being said, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Sample, and thank you, board, for the opportunity to present tonight. Congratulations on some of your new appointments. So I'm happy to share with you our plan, some updates regarding our GCC, what we're going to call this coming year learning cycles, and how we will contract with outside vendors to support the learning for students and for staff. So as I said, this year with our learning cycles, we have created a new framework. It's a conceptual structure that serves to guide the learning by identifying essential components for school improvement. I think you also might have a hard copy of this one in your folder.
Yes.
So improvement is a key focus for GCC, considering that all schools currently or recently were identified for comprehensive school improvement or CSI, or in need of additional targeted support. The 6 essential components provide clear communication and expectations for our site leaders while supporting all of our GCC priorities. The 6 essential components are focusing direction, leadership and coaching, collaborative cultures, evidence of student learning, deepening teacher learning, and securing accountability. None of these terms or concepts are new to our site leaders and probably not new to you. And we are intentionally carrying over our previous year's learnings and successes to support future learning. GCC will be contracting with external entities to support the work. Having their external perspective is key to broadening our thinking about equity and support for our students and to hold us accountable. Within this system, we do have a basic level of support that all sites will receive, and we call this the system fidelity. We are taking on some of this support ourselves within the GCC and also contracting for other supports. First, we're contracting with Lead, Teach, Learn 360, which we also call LTL 360, to help sites focus the direction of their school improvement plan. In this process, sites will identify their problem of practice, create their theory of action, and align their goals and actions, all based on data, both qualitative and quantitative. I want to emphasize that focusing on the students' needs and their experience, their daily experience at school, is always at the center of the process. Next, we're contracting with Futures Management System to coach each administrator at the site level and at the district level to lead the work within our new framework. Site administrators will take on more of the role to lead, push, pull, and integrate for results. This is part of building their capacity to sustain the work in the future on their own. And lastly, GCC is excited to have our own new professional learning coaches who will provide 5 professional development workshops to our administrators centered around our priorities, which are math, English language arts, English language development, positive behavior intervention and supports, coupled with restorative justice and student belonging and motivation. In addition to fidelity, we have intentionally left space for differentiation across sites, which we call system autonomy. We recognize and acknowledge that all of our sites serve a variety of student populations and have varied programs for their target. Sites will have freedom to choose which contractors and trainings best support their current needs. But all of those actions must serve to provide concrete evidence of student learning, build collaborative cultures, and deepen teacher learning and instructional practices. And each site will have a GCC support person to advise and help them create their individualized MTSS plan or multi-tiered systems of supports plan and their professional learning plans. As you can see, some other key contracts that are even on some of the agenda tonight are for Project Lead the Way. We have Flipping Group that will eventually come to us, Avid, CTE, IB. All of these are areas where the sites will have autonomy to individualize for their site. And just a few last key points. There will be 3 learning cycles for the upcoming year, mostly aligned with our 3 trimesters. And it's a balanced approach that builds on our own internal GCC capacity and maximizes our external partnerships to keep the work moving forward and in alignment with our existing plans. We are working the system for our good. And everyone is learning together for the good of students. And this is just some framework to put into context how we are using our external entities for support next year.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions?
Questions? from anyone?
And kind of while you're thinking of any questions that you have, we also on Thursday presented this to our administrators and had a discussion with them to also get their feedback and their thoughts. We're really excited about the integrated approach.
Thank you. Anything? Thank you so much
Thank you.
for bringing us this information. Thank you. And now we are moving, if there are no more questions or comments, we are moving to community school grant.
Yes, so this is, as the board may remember, last year we received funding to begin a planning stage of our community schools grant. And so Dr. Marston has been leading that charge with the GCC. And so it's time for the board to have kind of an annual update of where we are. So Dr. Marston.
All right, thank you very much. Ms. Joy Tafoy is going to pass out a flyer for you. Thank you, board, for having me here today. Cabinet, Superintendent Sample, that's a good ring to it. Welcome, everyone. I'm going to talk to you about the California Community School Partnership Program. I'm going to use the acronym CCSPP and the work that we are doing with this grant and GCC. So tonight we'll talk about the background, what this grant is, the vision that GCC has for this work, where we are in the process, and what our next steps are moving into the future. So the background on the CCSPP grant is, this is a grant that was given by the state of California to transform our schools into community schools and hubs. This came on the wave of the pandemic and the need for us to really create a whole child hub community school program at each individual school site. And so this is where we are working with the staff, the community, the students, to really come to improve our student outcomes, having students at the center. And this was a $3 billion investment by the state of California. So they're taking this very seriously. Here is a snapshot of what that pie graph looks like, of how they're spending this $3 billion. And I will get into it a little bit more of how much has been spent so far. So currently about half of that $3 billion has been spent. About 419 LEAs have received the planning grants, GCC being 2 of those, and 204 implementation grants. Over 1,000 school sites that have been awarded this grant money have an unduplicated student count of over 70%, which makes this work the most equity and racial justice driven transformation program in the history of California's public education. So what they're really trying to do with this work is bring in some alignments to improve student outcomes. This is to center relationships, address whole child needs, strengthen staffing and partnerships, make teaching and learning both relevant and rigorous to the students, and empower teams to reimagine and rebuild the systems that we have currently in our educational system. So this diagram is Maslow's hierarchy of need, and really meeting all of the needs for a student so that they can have that self-actualization. There are 4 cornerstones of this grant, which are allowable uses of the grant money. And the first is integrated student supports. And this is just meeting their physical, academic, social, emotional, and mental health needs. Second is family and community engagement, really tapping into the expertise of people within our community and on our staffs to serve as true partners for our schools. Collaborative leadership and practices for educators, creating that culture of professional learning and collective trust. And then finally, expanded learning time of having this academic support, enrichment, and real world opportunities. We just heard from Sava of all the wonderful things they're doing. We've heard from all the other GCC schools. We're doing all of these things. This is just taking it to the next level. So what is our vision here at GCC? The vision for GCC with this work is coordinating community resources, working in partnership with children, families, and community partners. The GCC Community School Program will strengthen and expand educational possibilities. The community schools program at our school sites will lead to better student outcomes, general health improvements for the neighborhoods where our schools are located, new opportunities for economic growth and workforce development. So this is the overarching vision for GCC. So where are we currently in this process? So as you know, we have very unique schools and we have a diverse range of communities. This diversity prevents an opportunity for us to create these individual community hubs that provide a tailored support to each community. And community hubs align to the needs of the individual school communities that we serve. The way we're doing this is through a design thinking framework for innovation. And so we are empathizing with our users and really feeling that this human-centered design has the approach of the people who face the problems have the key to their answer. So we are going to engage our stakeholders. We will define a problem and come up with solutions to the problem. We will ideate, prototype, and test those prototypes until we have a solution that we would like to move forward with. So we have two grant consortiums. The first are the top 6, and the second is CCCS. And with these two grants come a bag of money. So the first is $100,000 with a 1/3 local match for each of these schools for the year. So this is approximately $532,000 over the 2 years for us to have this planning grant and to do this work purposefully and well. So we have just finished up the planning grant year 1. Next year, we are moving into the planning grant year 2. Mid-March of next school year, we will apply for our implementation grants. The implementation grant is up to $500,000 a year. And that is a 5-year program. So it will go all the way into the 28-29 school year. This work has really been led by the District Community School Steering Committee. If you are part of that steering committee, you're in this room, can you stand for me? Thank you very much, and Mr. Sample too. We've been doing a lot of work. We've met over 6 times and really guiding this work and making sure that we have this connected autonomy within our school districts and kind of blending the work so it doesn't seem like one extra piece that we're doing. So our next steps. So we are going to report, as you know, with all grants, reports to the state. So we have a budget report and an annual report that we need to send into the state. We're going to continue with the planning phase. Each of our GCC schools has a 10-month planning timeline where we are going to engage our educational partners. We are going to collect data. We're going to use themes from those data. We're going to come up with ideas to move forward, prototype, refine, and finalize the prototype. And then using the CDE's outline, we are going to apply for the 5-year Community Schools Grant Partnership Program. And again, that's due in mid-March of 2024. Yay. All right. So my final slide is just our deliverables to measure success. We want to make sure this is a user-friendly and accessible framework to create these individual hubs. We want to create these partnerships with our community and really build those lasting relationships. We want to have a tailored support for each of our schools to make sure that it meets the needs of the community and the students. We want to integrate the community hubs into the academic learning that's happening at our schools. We want to make sure that we do a really good job marketing and having outreach of this effort so that the community and everybody knows what we're doing. And I want to take a moment to thank Adam, the man behind the scenes back there. He's been helping me with the website. So this information is on the GCC's website right now. And I really want to thank the support that I got from Jason, Sergey, and Julia for communicating. We've been communicating a lot in June. Then we also are going to have some training and support for educators to continue with this work. And finally, creating some system for monitoring and evaluating the effectiveness of the work that we are doing. So For me, I believe that good design is obvious, great design is transparent. And doing this work to make sure that this design is transparent to our stakeholders and it's effective. Any questions, any thoughts?
Yeah.
I really appreciate the presentation. I would never have thought how much work is involved in this. It's just one of those titles that you never realize all the effort that has to go into it. So, and I can't wait to see, your outcomes. This is a long-term project,
Yes, sir.
and it's certainly impressive. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, when you say long-term, it means we apply for the 5-year. If I understood that correctly.
Yes, ma'am. And there's even a grant after that to continue with it for another 2 years of getting this funding. But it's optimal for us to continue with this work so that it's not something we're relying on a grant for.
Okay,
It's easy for us to say, go after grant money. You know what has to do the work.
exactly. Yeah, and I was thinking, once it's in the schools, in the community, do we have other principals responsible, or do you have the prerogative to hire other people within the system to manage this program?
So I've been working very closely with the principals, vice principals, parent liaisons, student support services. We've been coordinating efforts to create steering committees at each school site so that they can help us move the work forward. And so making it really a holistic thing where students and parents and community are all involved with this work, moving it forward. So it's not reliant on one person.
Okay, and it's not an overload on what we're already doing and trying to do and trying to accomplish.
That's why you need someone in my position to make sure that it's not overloading the principals and really have that gauge on, am I pushing too much? Am I pulling?
Okay.
And being able to gauge that. I've been giving surveys to see how much work is enough for them, and I've gotten very good feedback that it's been very
You can
smooth.
hear my concern.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, and the principals have the same concern
Okay,
as well, yes.
good, as old principal.
Yes.
And Madam President, I will say, I think, all things politics, if you look at the fact that the state has invested so much money
Yeah, it is. a lot
into
of money.
this really will become the trend
Okay.
of the state of California. I think the governor in his last, even current budget, he's doubled down on this. And it really is a concept that is not unlike what many groups have done. I looked at Mr. Block many years ago, working with programs such as Operation Graduation, Youth Wellness Village. It was this same kind of concept that I think is just coming back around in different.
Yes, Jack.
I'm just curious, why were there 2 separate planning grants?
So the consortium with Futures High School, we applied together. And CCCS wanted to take a chance to see if they could apply for it because it is an independent study school. And so they applied on a whim thinking, if we get it, great. If not, oh, no harm. And they applied and were awarded the grant.
Okay.
Thank you so much, and keep working.
Thank you.
Keep looking.
Thank
keep
you,
checking.
everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're moving on. We still have quite a bit to accomplish. Our next item is the board self-evaluation process. Now, you have it in your binders, and we got it earlier, but we did not discuss it at the time we got it originally. It was at our board retreat, and we ran out of time. And then it was brought back to our attention that we still need to do this because it's a part of our process. So it is in your binder. So we're now open for discussion. Yes, sir. Mr.
It
Jack.
seems to say that we're doing well, hardworking, dedicated, insightful. I think it, I think it is a realistic reflection of the board.
And I agree with you, and I think if you read the comment, I did make those comments saying we are a board that really work, we try hard to do what we're supposed to do. We're not perfect. but
We're not?
No. But we do read our agendas, we come prepared, Mark, I know you had your hand up.
Well, I was just gonna say, I also think that there's good communication between us and staff as well.
Yeah.
Which I'm very pleased with. So, yeah, I think it's very reflective of what I believe is the truth, so.
There was one item that I did turn back. And that was Q4 nominations, appointment of board members follow clearly established procedures using known criteria. That one had a 2, 2, and 1 and A. So it's something we probably need to look at in the near future, but we haven't had any new appointments lately, so yeah. I think that's why it was so low on that one. But did you see anything, board members, that we really need to pull back and govern ourselves accordingly? It was ranging between the 4.2, I think 4.20 was one of the lowest ones. But they all in the 4-point range, 4 to 5-point range, all of the areas. And for those who are out there, we're talking about how we present ourselves to you in terms of what the board does and how the board reacts. And having been on several boards, this is a great board. We do our business and we try to look at the issues. And this is one, the board reviews its own performances and measures its own effectiveness in governance work. You know, we got a 4.80 on that, so I think it really does express ourselves, what we're trying to do. Any comments, Mr. Block? Any comments, Mr. Bruce? Any other? From Jackie and from Mark? Anything else?
You need a motion to accept it?
No motion.
No
necessary.
motion, it's just the
Board discussion.
just the board discussion. And I'm just trying to make sure everybody's got a chance to really think about what we're doing and how we're doing it.
You know,
This is one.
self-evaluating. Evaluations are really interesting. Aside. Our evaluation, are there external evaluations?
I have not, we have not had any,
We might want to talk about that. That's a possibility.
and the external will be from the cabinet members and for the
Could be from the
from
staff.
the administration. Yeah, exactly. I hear what you're saying. Other than they tell us we're doing okay, so. When they make their report, so,
Well,
but that would be an interesting thing to look at.
well, don't ask the question if you don't want to hear the answer.
Say what you got. You wouldn't mention it. And this is one that I really like. The board demonstrates a deep commitment to the mission and vision of the organization. And that was a full 5.0. And I think we do. I really think so. Now, if somebody else has a problem with it, they need to let us know, don't they? Anything else we need to discuss on that item? Okay. All right. We spoke well. Okay, hearing none, we shall continue then. We did look at our evaluation, please, for the record, and it's a very positive evaluation for the board members. And if there are any concerns, we certainly hope we will be notified. All right. We did move our closed session, so now we are going to the adoption of the consent agenda items.
Madam President,
Yes.
on consent agenda item 8.3, purchases over 30,000. Staff is going to pull the future management systems agreement and we'll bring it back to a substitute.
Okay, so you're pulling that, which one was it?
Under purchases
Purchases over 30,000. It's just one item,
Just one.
and give me the number, please.
It is 8.3, so
8.3 has been
under the
pulled.
purchases over there, just the one.
Okay,
The rest the purchases over can carry.
All right. So let me quickly go through the items that we have. Adoption of the city board meeting from 6/6/23. Personnel consent agenda items. Purchases over 30,000 except A3, which has been forwarded. Sacramento Youth Center intern program MOU, Community Collaborative Charter School Early Literacy Block Grant. Rescind GCC Board Policy 15-17 anti-bullying. Job description, transition vocational coach. Declaration of need for fully qualified educators. Disposal and surplus technology. Disposal and surplus curriculum, Futures High School. Community Collaborative Charter School Virtual Academy Curriculum Pilot. And Medi-Cal Administrative Claiming Agreement. These are the consent agenda items, doing A3.
I move approval and I want to talk about personnel.
Okay,
One second.
second, all right. Let's take a look. And you want to talk about personnel now? Okay,
No, I was just really impressed with the list of the new teachers that we're hiring. Is that? Those are all new,
They're both new and changes, position changes.
the other new positions. Well, they've been awfully busy. Yeah, absolutely.
Our
Those are-
HR has been doing.
And it's impressive that we were able to get that number this early. And I know we need more, but they jumped out at me looking at that impressive list of staff, the credential teachers that we've been able to hire.
We were just talking about that, only a couple of separations, but a lot of new hires, which is exciting.
that's good.
Pardon? There were some para educators, yes, as well as a lot of para educators who've also gone into like induction and teacher programs as well, which is really exciting.
All right, so I will do the vote. Roll call. Mr. Anderson?
Yeah.
Harry Block, Mr. Block, Bruce Mandrick,
Yes.
Jack Turner,
Yes,
Lily Kim, yes. Thank you for your hard work and all, and you're right, we had a lot of people there. Okay, where are we now? Oh, adopted budget. That's where we are. Okay, yes. I'm so confused tonight.
So I'm gonna start, good evening, President and trustees, Superintendent Sample. I'm gonna start by introducing my team and acknowledging them publicly. There's a lot of work that happens behind the scenes, from ed services to meeting with principals, to lots of different stakeholders. But the team behind the scenes, behind the work that I present, is behind me. Would you please stand up? And I'm going to introduce them. Our Director of Business Services, Valerie Rogers. So she's an intricate part of our team. And then we have our two supervisors, Lillian Matu and Yvonne Grazer. And then we have our two newly hired analysts, financial and budget analysts, Andrew Gibson and Cindy.
Welcome.
And I can't say your last name, but Cindy, that do and put a lot of work into this budget. So I just want to publicly thank them.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being here tonight.
All right,
Thank
so let's get started. Okay, so I'm going to start with a brief introduction. This budget is based on the governor's May revise. We will continually monitor the state's budget adoption, which of course we're getting ready to adopt. And we'll hear more on the enacted once that's approved. And then ensure that any impacts are reflected in our first interim budget. The budget is due to our chartering authorities in the County Office of Education on June 30th of 2023. You guys are approving today, so we'll submit early.
you.
Okay, some of the state highlights, a lot of these we went over 2 weeks ago when I presented some of the highlights that the May revise had. But just as a reminder and kind of part of this budget process, state shortfalls of 31.5 billion statewide is impacting the education budget. 7% of it is due to personal income tax. And then to balance the education budget, they're looking at cuts for the arts, music, and instructional materials and learning recovery emergency block grants. So that's how they're trying to balance the portion they're cutting from education. The Department of Finance believes we are going into a moderate recession. So that's something I brought up last time. Attendance rates have not rebounded back to pre-pandemic levels. So we're seeing a lot of absences due to illness, COVID-related reasons. Expiring one-time funds. We have compensation cost pressures. We also have increases in PERS to 26.68% this year. And we have decrease in enrollment statewide. Luckily, that's not impacting our charter schools. So just wanted to point that out, that is something that's happening statewide. It's just, we're not seeing it here at GCC. Some of the things that were on the May revise, but are not included on our adopted budget due to not knowing exactly how these dollars are going to come in. Just the uncertainty of what's happening with the state right now with the cuts is a couple of initiatives or propositions. So Prop 28, the arts and music education one time, it's estimated to be 933 million or 110 per student. We still are going to wait to see what that dollar amount comes in, and then we'll budget once we see the award. We have the opioid overdose reversal. There's 3.5 million ongoing. So we're still implementing that. That money is to buy the supplies to be able to have this medication on hand for our schools. There's 2 literacy proposals. There's a 250 million one time for high poverty schools receiving funds to train and hire literacy coaches and reading specialists. There's another 1 million to create literacy roadmaps to help educators navigate existing literacy programs. And then we have some cultural enrichment, 100 million one time to provide 12th graders and 12th grade students opportunities to visit museums, attend theater performances, and other enrichment activities, such as ball games, things. We just heard Sava talk about how some of our students haven't experienced some of those enrichment activities, so that those are for that. President Biden had some federal funding proposals. Federal IDEA 2.1 billion proposition to increase title. There's a couple Title I initiatives to increase Title I initiatives, early learning and preschool partnerships. So these are some of the proposals that are still on proposals, and we still don't know how they're going to come in, what's going to finalize. So once we have more information, we'll bring those back and include them in the budget. But for now, for this adopted budget, these are not included. Here is our enrollment and our ADA information. The first table shows our prior year for current year enrollment. So our prior year is at a CBED space, so around October, November timeframe. And then our 23-24 projection for CBEDs is reviewed thoroughly through cabinet and decided on what that number, what we think is our best guess for the 23-24 year. We have to look at trends to see what's happening on the second semester. So you see 2 of those schools, HLA and Futures, are slightly going down, and that's just because we've seen a decline in February, March of the attendance, not the attendance, the enrollment numbers dropping a little bit. So we're budgeting conservative. We always do that at the beginning of the year, just because we are a charter, we have outgoing 12th graders, and we're not 100% sure how our incoming kindergartens are going to offset that 12th grade drop. So that is our numbers for enrollment projections. I also gave you a slide on what our P2
ADA numbers will be. This is what really drives our LCFF numbers and the biggest part of our budget. And these percentages are based on trend. We try to monitor closely those sites that have a lower than 90% to try to ensure that we see what's happening in the attendance of that at those particular sites and help them increase their attendance. But we range about 93% organization wide. Our unduplicated pupil percentages, these are our English learners, foster youth, free and reduced population students. And as you can see, we're well over 70% of all at all schools. There's a couple that are at that 71.44 at Elk Grove. So just depending on where we're located, you'll see that there's different needs at different sites, but for the most part, we're all high unduplicated. On the next slide over, you can see how much money we're getting. This is just LCFF dollars, how much money we're getting for each student. So the first section says targeted base grant. So that's the amount we get per student, regardless of any add-ons. You can see that the state applied the 8.22% COLA. You have grade span adjustments for TK, K to 3, and then 9 to 12. Those are just because the state feels it takes more to educate that population of students. And then the last column is just what we're getting per that particular grade group. And the bottom side just illustrates kind of that same, you know, we're getting grade level add-ons for K3 and 9-12, and then how we get additional dollars for the unduplicated children. So the grade, the supplemental and the supplemental concentration pieces are based on your unduplicated population percentage. So that's why those two slides are connected. Your general fund revenues and assumptions. So here's a snapshot of all your revenue. LCFF revenue being the largest bucket of money that we receive. And you can see that has a $7.2 million increase, and that's based on the 8.22% COLA. It's based on what we projected our ADA to be. It includes our UPP number, so those numbers are reflected of the 7.2%. The federal revenue, we see a huge decrease of 7.5 million. And so that is the loss of the one-time money that has been spent down. So that's your ESSER, American Rescue Protection Act dollars. So those are going away. For the most part, there's very little rolling into the next year. And the rest of the grants that we get ongoing, so all our title funding is flat funded currently, for this adopted budget. Our state revenues, we are also seeing a drop from 22-23 estimated to 23-24 of 10.9 million. That is our arts, music, instructional materials, and the learning recovery emergency block grants that are being accounted for in 22-23, but we have not spent any of that. That will be spent in the 23-24. So you'll see kind of how that will show up on the financials, but because they are entitlements, we record them when they are awarded and not when they are spent with those particular grants. And they all are also reflected of the decreases that the May revise had. So that was 51% cut on the arts, music and instructional materials, and 32% cut on the learning recovery emergency block grant. For the majority, all state grants were increased by the COLA of 8.22%. And lastly, we have our local revenue. That shows a decrease of 584,000. That is a one-time grant that we received for emergency connectivity funds. That was to support our hotspots for our students. We decided to go after that grant to ensure that our kiddos had access for another year. General fund expenditures. So I'm going to go over the different classifications that you see on the SACS form. So certificated salaries and classified salaries have a significant increase. The increase for these, there's a couple reasons. Step and increase, you have about 3% average on certificated step and column increases, 2.5 for classified. You also have the ongoing increases that we approved about 2 months ago, month ago, of between 4.5 to 7% increases on the salary schedule. You certificated teachers being the biggest classification receive 7% of the salary schedule. So that is reflective of that. It's also reflective of all the vacancies that we have not been able to fill. So at adopted budget, we ensure that we budget the full amount of that salary. As you all know, we had some contract for speds. We had some contracts for Scoot that will, as we bring those back, we will reduce the salaries to be able to afford these contracts, right? So if we can't find staffing, we're gonna have to switch over to contracted staffing. So benefits are directly correlated to the increases of salaries. You have the PERS increasing from 25.37 to 26.68%. Health and welfare, we project a 3% increase annually. And then unemployment came down from 0.5% to 0.05%. All other benefits stayed the same as prior year. Okay. Ended up copying the slide over so you could see the numbers. For books and supplies and for services and other, I have decreased those significantly to account for the loss of the one-time funding. So we have to come back to our trends of spending from prior to COVID. So we looked at our numbers prior to COVID, all this one-time money increases, applied COLA for all the years that have passed, and kind of made sure that everybody had enough money to be able to operate. But we do have to come back down from this one-time flush of money. So you can see that for books and supplies specifically, we cut 1.1 million on non-capital equipment. So that's for supplies over $500. So as you can imagine, with a lot of one-time money, there was a lot of, furniture, expansions, things to protect for COVID, equipment used for learning, right? Chromebooks, laptops, etc. So that was cut from the budget to ensure that we can kind of stay within our operating budget. The service and other operating budget, we dropped the consultant or professional services by 2.1 million. Again, bringing those back down to pre-COVID trends. And then for capital outlay, we have an increase. We have a couple of projects going on. For CCCS, we have the CTE expansion. For COA, we have the Dudley C, which is the CalFit building renovation. For Future Sight and HLA, there's a field project that's in conversation. And for GIS, we have a portable and field projects. And those are both being conversed with San Juan and working in connection with them. The other ALCO is just the difference in debt from one year to the other. So that's debt and principal for Future Sight and HLA's campus that we still make payments on. Okay. For the fund balance, I ended up creating two different slides. One is for just unrestricted and the other one is for the restricted dollars. So you can really see and visualize what's happening with the one-time dollars. So this is your unrestricted budget. My goal was to ensure that none of these were negative. So where you see on COA there's a negative, that's because of the COA Dudley C building renovation. So that's going to cost us a lot more than what they have in their operating budget. There is reserves to cover this. And so that's why that one's negative. But for the most part, we are working, we'll be working really closely with the sites to ensure that they stay within their operating budget. And the explanation of this is as one-time funding goes away, we will use more of our unrestricted funds to minimize staffing reduction. So we're going to try to ensure that the impact to our sites is minimal. So that's for the unrestricted side of the house. For the restricted side of the house, you see all those negatives, right?
Mhm.
That is money that was sitting in the beginning balance. So you have 12.2 million that's going into the beginning balance. So this is the block grants that are rolling into the new year. Any type of ESSER funding that's still rolling into the 23-24 year, any leftover one-time funds. And then you see, thank you. And then you see that in the 23-24 ending balance, you only have a couple of dollars that are rolling into the 24-25 year. And that is due to ELOP. So 1.7 of that 2.2 is ELOP funding that we anticipate that if we don't have any big projects, there is availability to use ELOP dollars to, I think we presented this before, to be able to use for build, like the field, for example, for HLA and futures, there's a portion that can be used for that. So as we strategize on how we're going to use these one-time dollars, we'll make sure we utilize those. And then 500,000 for learning recovery block grant for COA. But for the most part, these dollars are starting to dwindle down in this year. So this is that fiscal cliff that everybody talks about. You see that money
Oh, yeah.
being tight in this, the future years. Okay, some of the risks moving forward. We continue to see the ADA to enrollment decreases, increase in student absences across the state. So this is not just happening here, it's happening everywhere. Possible additions to revenue shortfalls. So May brought a number, but again, you know that the personal income tax and taxes in general were extended to October. So we'll see what's happening with that. There's possible cash deferrals if the cuts to the block grants don't materialize. So we're going to see what happens for the enacted budget. Compensation pressures. As you know, there's surrounding districts also offering raises and competitive. We are as competitive as we can be. But we will most likely continue to feel pressures. Pension costs, CalPERS, it continues to increase in the out years. Loss of ADA protection for future years. So this current year also had a loss of the ADA protection that rolled in from last year. We were paid this year for ADA loss protection. There was 2 provisions. We got paid on the second provision this year. So that's no longer in effect. As you know, districts get that hold harmless from prior year. We don't have that. That's gone for us. There's the looming economic recession. Inflation and interest rates have maintained high. The stock market continues to be volatile. The house market is in recession with low home sales and increased mortgage rates. And then, of course, as I illustrated in the previous slide, the fiscal cliff on the expiring of all this one-time sources. So those are some of the risks moving forward, some of the things we got to be cautious about and watchful. So that is the end of my presentation. Thank you. Thank you to my
Thank
team.
you. Thank
And any
you.
questions?
Yes. Any questions, any comments, board members?
I have one,
You have one?
yeah, absentee, that affects our ADA a lot.
It does. Yes. And I mean, we're actually doing pretty good. I think
Yeah.
statewide it was about 90%. I presented it 2 weeks ago, about 90%.
Looks good.
We're at 93 for our school, so we're actually doing better than
Yes,
across the state. Yeah. So
yes, Mr. Jack.
Yes, I had a chance to meet with Omar earlier. She answered my questions again. Anyone that's ever managed educational budgets know this is one of the most challenging budgets that you can deal with, and it's getting more complicated every year. To age myself, I can remember when STRS and PERS were 7% and 8% respectively,
yeah,
and we thought that was a lot.
Mhm.
And,
19 and
uh,
26 now.
It's,
And now the 20.
it's just a matter of, it's a real challenge. I just want people to hear is this is really a challenge to manage a budget like this with the number of grants you have, the one-time money, the number of sites that you've managed, each of the different charters. I probably could go on for a half an hour. And you know all of it. Anyway, thank you and your staff.
Yeah,
Yes.
Thank you.
yes.
I have one other question, with contract, do we pay for it instead for those contracts, we want to give contracts?
No.
Okay.
No. We just pay them a fee. Anything else?
I would just second what Jack said. He stole my thunder. Having been in the business a long time. The charter school concept is so difficult because of this. We don't have one school district, we have 9 school districts, and it's just that much more complicated, so. I appreciate your ability to come in before June 30th with the budget.
Thank you very much on behalf of all the board members who already spoken. And to your staff, we appreciate your being here tonight. Thank you for all of the work that you put in to make this happen. We know it's not an easy job. Somebody's got to do it. All right, and so with that, we will have a board motion to approve the 2023-24 adopted budget.
Also move.
So move. Have a second. Any other discussion? Questions, discussion? Hearing none, seeing no hands. Roll call, Mr. Anderson.
Yeah.
Harry Block,
Yes.
Ms. Mandrake,
Yes.
Mr. Turner,
Yes,
Lily Campbell, yes. You have been unanimously approved. And thanks again, acclamation to all of you for your hard work. Thank you. All right.
Well, I'm gonna stay up here.
Oh, yeah,
'cause
that's right. You do have, okay. That is the line of credit with
So-
Wells Fargo.
We're bringing this item back to extend another 3 years for its expiring line of credit of 3 million. This is interest rate is 1% below bank's prime rate, currently at 8.25. And this extends this credit line till June 10th of 2026. So we just need a motion to.
Yeah,
amend.
just need one. Yes, Mark. That's it. Anderson.
so
So move. And second. Any other questions or discussion?
have we ever used the line of credit?
Not yet.
Not yet. Not yet. Thank goodness.
We have not.
It's just there for emergency.
If
I
we have-
understand, I just was trying to go back and.
No, we have not utilized it.
We're glad we have it. Yes.
Madam Chairman, I would move that we look at items 3 and 4 together as one.
3 and 4 together. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
the
Well,
other one
let's
is just a resolution to change our authorized approvers or entity of the organization.
Excuse
So-
me, we still have.
Okay, so-
motion.
Yeah.
I need to do number 2 before we do 3 and 4. Okay, so I hear no other discussions or questions. All in favor, Mark Anderson,
Yes,
Mr. Block, Harry Block, Bruce Mandrake,
Yes.
Jack Turner,
yes,
Lily Campbell, and we are approving the line of credit Wells Fargo. Now, the next item is 3 and 4, asking to pull them together.
I think he was asking for 2 and 3 to be put together, but 3 and 4.
No, 3 and 4,
Three and
but 3 and 4, not 2 and
Oh.
3. 2 had a vote already.
And so I'll just go ahead and jump in. So 3 and 4 both are just as we continue to establish the transition of the organization. 3 is designating the authorized entity representatives. And then resolution 4 is our annual one where we are designating our signatures or authorized signers for SCOE and Yolo County Office of Ed. So those are fairly, this.
Yeah. So now I will entertain a motion to
I'll move approval of items 3 and 4.
move approval of items 3 and 4. Line. Do I have a second? You have a second? All right, so any discussion, questions, comments on items 3 and 4? Hearing none, roll call, Mr. Mark Anderson,
yes,
Ms. Harry Block,
Yes.
Mr. Bruce Mandrake,
Yes.
Mr. Jack Turner,
yes.
Lily Campbell, yes. So 3 and 4 has been unanimously approved, as long also with 2 and 1. All right. I think We are, okay, the next item is, under curriculum instructions, adoption of the local control accountability plan. And if you recall, we heard the plan last board meeting, and tonight it's just that we are now approving and adopting the local
Move to
control.
approve.
Move approval.
Second,
All right. Move approval, any discussion? Any questions, any comments? Hearing none, roll call. Mark Anderson,
Yes.
Mary Block,
Yeah.
Bruce Mandrick,
Yes.
Jack Turner,
yes,
Shirley Campbell, yes. Unanimously approved the adoption of the local control accountability plan, which we reviewed last time. All right, and now we are now getting ready to move into, personnel
13-1.
13-1, employment agreement, CCX cap. Oh, yes, I'm sorry. GCC cabinet member, that's employment agreement for cabinet member, and if you read it, you know, we're talking.
move approval.
Move approval,
Second.
second, discussion. Comments? Hearing none, seeing none, roll call. Mr. Mark Anderson,
Yes.
Sarah Block,
Yes.
Bruce Mandrick,
Yes.
Jack Turner,
Yes,
Shirley Campbell, yes. So that item, employment agreement, GCC cabinet member has been approved. Thank you. Right. And now we will take a break for going into our closed session. And we will come back and report out at the end of our closed session. Thank you so much. Okay, board, I'd like to report on, please. We are back from closed session. No action was taken at the time, but we did instruct cabinet to look at some things that we need to get back to, so. And at this point, I will be pulling the superintendent's employment agreement, 13-2. What numbers we've been told. All right, and now we are down to board comments. Any comments, board members? Mr. Turner,
Well, I was gonna wish everybody a great summer break, but I think we'll be back.
we'll be back. Yes, we will be back. And again, as a board, I want to congratulate Sava, Mr. Maury. You got good coverage last night.
Thank you.
Very good coverage. I was really impressed with the coverage they gave the low riding.
What
Electric.
channel was it?
KCRA.
Yeah.
We can probably share the link. I can send it to Melissa and she can share it out with you.
And the students, a couple of young ladies spoke, and she said she didn't know why she was there at first, but now she knew why. And it was very profound, she said. So it was really great. Very good. And I guess that's about it for now. Announcement of the next board meeting,
Gonna be July 26th.
July 26th.
I was announcing two. The second one after that is August 15th.
July 26th. Any other closing comments, board members?
I guess I have to ask Saba, the bucket with the little shovel on it, what program do you use that on?
It's just summer fire.
That's fun. Okay, so if nothing else good for the organization, I will entertain a motion to adjournment. Move to adjourn, second, all in favor? Aye, the ayes have it. Meetings adjourned.